Hello and welcome to another video by Big Taco and Little Taco, and this is Volume 9 in the epic LEGO Death Star MOC vlog. In this episode I will show you how the Death Star was put together. Not so much the brick techniques, but more or less how it was designed to be modular, and that way then each section is accessible and could be transported to a potential show in the future. The first section is the trench run, which had to be deep enough to allow the ships to be placed in, and long enough and in the exact center of the MOC for the exhaust port. As in typical modular fashion, jumper tiles allow you to remove sections, and tiles are being used to hold it down. Once it's removed, you can see inside of the Death Star. As for the set itself, all of them are essentially modular, so you almost have a mini vignette right there. And simply would have liked color-coded bricks, but multicolor was needed. The next section is the main dish. This was a challenging build because of trying to make that circular pattern, so it's the one I would love to go back to and fix, but again, it's simply designed to provide that dish shape and be able to be removed nicely. My favorite sections is always the command deck, which allows for all the great scenes from Tarkin. Once it's exposed from removing the trench, you can see where the brick stuff wires are. And again, everything is very modular once it's removed. At the command center is also where I have the first power pack. So whenever there's a black part, you can take it off, and inside you can see how there's a hidden battery pack for the lights. And there is the special button, which is essential in showing off this diorama. And Tarkin's office is also modular, so you can have access to the conference room below, which was circular. Here we have the TIE Fighter hallway, where there's the TIE Fighter pilots and then the gunner station for the turbo lasers. And it, again, is very modular. Certainly these top sections are all very modular and look like little shadow boxes. The other section would be the beam shaft, where I have the control room, an observation room that was seen in Rogue One. And again, you see a lot of colors be used to make the supporting walls. That's the struggle with this Death Star. It is big and it is heavy, so reinforcing walls were always going to be essential in creating the different modulars and keeping it all from falling into itself, which would have been pretty devastating. The docking bay, there's simply just some strands across with Technics and reinforcements and tiles, which allow all the lighting for the main docking bay. They simply are removed, and you just have to really mind the wires. But once this is taken out, you really have the open space of the docking bay. From here, you have the different subsections of the docking bay's walls. So we have the turbo lifts and one of the hallways. Simple, modular. Once it's pulled out, you'll see that there's light bars that are essentially allowing the lights to spread out evenly. Some mechanisms to use for the blast door. Given how tight it was, I was only able to have one of the doors move, so it's good for posing. On the back side, you see more of the interior of the docking bay, so it was really mapping out which spaces are being shown and what could be utilized. Another wall, again, is from the control room. Similar design, light bars across, mechanisms for doors, and the exterior is what is seen from the docking bay. And when it's not the docking bay, it would be mix-max bricks to fill in this space. Again, support is always necessary with a MOC this big. And now the different layers of the docking bay begin to be revealed. Here is the opening airlock, which is actually reinforced by plates and bricks. It's quite structurally sound, even for that large gap. Again, with all of the building, it was important to be structurally sound. On the outsides, we have the exterior of the hallways. When you flip it into the interior, you have the details for the different parts of the docking bay. Again, structural integrity is critical in a MOC this big. You need to make sure that everything can support the weight above it, structurally sound, and these little sections are very, very modular. Again, you can flip them upside down, move them around. They're very secure, so that's a good build. You definitely don't want this to fall apart and see a grown man cry. Simple door mechanisms are gears. I'm not overly advanced in that regard. And the wiring from brick stuff simply just kind of feeds along those light wires. Here's the other wall inside of the docking bay, which has the support pillars, which are simply just attached. You pull them apart so you can actually remove more of it. I've seen more advanced builds, but I needed it to have that kind of purpose. On the other side is where the dish is housed, and the dish can be removed, and then you really have access to one of the walls. And here is one of the more complicated sections. We have the dual hallway and maintenance shaft. Complicated, not again because of the design, again, boxy, simple. It was because some of the mechanisms to use different parts were going to be housed here. For example, the mechanisms to open and shut the door to Princess Leia's cell block would be housed here. And we would also want to have in tandem the blast doors closing, but I couldn't figure that one out, so you just have to simply twirl them together at the same time. And once those side hallways are removed, you really start exposing the lower sections of the Death Star, in particular the docking bay platform. In here, some of the wiring is housed, so that leads to the different sections. So this becomes, again, a very tricky modular section. And once that is removed, we now have the lower section, which is one solid piece because it never was designed to be modular, and we'll have to be circled back to it. But we have one section to remove, and that's the detention block. As you see, it's just been pulled away, exposed even further layered lower. And there it is, the detention block in its own little vignette. We don't have the same kind of modular look because we don't have the tops and bottoms. But it was really important to show that long hallway. So I ended up picking up the sticker sheet for the original Death Star. There was a couple stickers in there that I really wanted. That long hallway shot being in particular. And that one right there. The buttons to open up the cell door. And once the detention block has been removed, we expose the lower section of the Death Star. There are some components there, like there is the drive shaft, which can raise and lower the elevator. We also have simple door mechanisms, gears, and whatnot. Nothing overly fancy here. Again, it's not my speciality. What it was really about is designing the structural integrity at the bottom. It has to support all the weight. So you had to put in a lot of support beams, and that really allowed for the different modular sections. You would have another section, again, added to on top of that support beam, and then on so forth and so forth. So the lower level supports the upper level. The upper level supports the next level, and so forth. And last but certainly not least is the bottom power section. From the battery pack, it leads to the button, which then feeds up into the splitter section, which allows the lights at the lower section as well as the mid section to be connected on one line. And in tradition, here is the video at the end. And we have the laundry table, which is right now being used to store all the different modular parts of the Death Star. You see how they all stack up there nicely. We have over here on top of our dryer some more parts. There's the docking bay as well as the section from the detention block. Over here on the main display table, we have the lower section of the Death Star. As you can see, it is all one big piece. So if I ever wanted to bring this to a local brick convention, I'm going to have to figure out a way of getting this out the door into the car and to where they need to go. So perhaps only if it's in my local area. Over here we have another thing we're working on, or at least kind of piecing together, is the idea of using this Daily Bugle set, the newly released Daily Bugle set. I know that's not really about Star Wars. So we have our ships are hanging out over there in Hoth. We have the Millennium Falcon in this docking bay. And then we have the different ships. We have the Imperial Landing Craft, Krennic's shuttle, and way in the back there are some TIE fighters. There are some more of the minifigures. And here we have Grand Moff Tarkin and Director Krennic standing beside their Black Series figures. And over here is where I did all the videos, but also where I did a lot of the work. We have the hero minifigures. But this book is in particular, it's been the scratch book, the sketch book, where all the steps of how to dismantle the Death Star are. And right over there, we have a hint towards our next big plan. The minifigures on the top might give you a hint. And we're sorting out all kinds of Lego pieces that are white. Anyways, thank you so much for watching all the videos, all the likes and subscriptions, and comments. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone has enjoyed looking at the Death Star, and certainly this video about how it was built and made. And see you in the next one.